Bruce McIntyre, who will be handling the initial presentation, and then we'll pass it back to me when we get to the actual software demonstration portion of today's webinar. The actual PowerPoint presentation should be about 15-20 minutes long, plus or minus, and then the software demonstration will be another 20-25 minutes. So we should wrap up hopefully within about 40-45 minutes, and then there'll be some time for Q&A. There is just some administration. There is a question box on your GoToMeeting webinar. You can certainly type in any questions that you have there, or you can certainly wait till the end where we'll open it up for some questions and answers. Or, again, Bruce is going to also display a PowerPoint slide which will provide some contact information where you could also send some questions if you have any. Okay? So without further ado, I will hand this over to my colleague, Bruce. Bruce, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Andy. Thank you very much. And welcome, everyone coming today. Let's go ahead and get started. As Andy said, here is some contact information. Andy is the CEO of ISS Group. If you have any questions, you can send to him or to myself. Or Kelly Anderson, who is one of our key sales executives, and we'll make sure that you get all your questions answered for follow-up. Next slide. So before we get into much else, I'm going to do a quick overview. Who is ISS Group? So we've been around quite a while, since 1986. We know manufacturing. We have been implementing manufacturing applications from 1986 through the 2000s. We were a certified reseller and implementer of QAD in the 1995 through the 2000s, and have been developing a functionality extending applications for QAD ever since 1996. In fact, while I was with QAD, I worked with ISS to build the first QAD e-commerce application called Trading Partner Transactions, which is still in use at a number of QAD sites. So our focus is to provide solutions and services to all of the QAD user organizations around the world. And we work in a great many countries and with many different size organizations. Our focus is really on helping customers improve their business processes in a variety of ways. We build solutions to improve the business processes. And a lot of that comes from our focus on digitizing business processes, and so that they can be easily built, managed, and extended. Next slide. Here's a quick overview. I won't focus on these names. I'm sure there's one or two on here that you know or have heard of, and every one of these is referenceable. If you have something that you would like to know, we will put you in contact with people. Thank you. Next slide. So what is digitizing business processes? The focus is to connect people and the processes via all those media that are available to us over the cloud, with mobile devices, over social networks, and all of that is linked together using our approval routing technology, which you will be seeing demos of today, as well as to better understand how that works. Next slide. So there are some existing applications or solutions that we have. I approve, which is a generalized request approval routing piece that's used everything from CapEx requests to vacation requests, anything where you are trying to get rid of moving a piece of paper around. I purchase, which you will actually see today, is the focus on indirect spend management so that you can improve performance, reduce cost, and get better control. In the same way, we have on the supplier side IRFQ to manage the process of getting supplier material pricing, and I quote the ability to improve the response to customer sales quotes. And if you want to learn more about these solutions, just go to our website and you'll be able to get a much more complete description of each of these solutions. Next slide. Now, iPurchase is integrated with the QAD ERP solutions in real time. This is not a batch update. This is not something that is done by bits and pieces. We are integrated, and everything that we do is done in real time against the QAD application, not just touching on databases, but on managing and directly getting into the functionality of the QAD ERP application. But all of that is fed through and around our advanced approval routing technology that is where a large part of our value add comes from. Next slide. So what is AART? Well, in this case, as part of iPurchase, we use this to route electronic PO requisitions for review and change and approval. We have these configurable user-defined routing rules based on any data within the PO requisition, including things outside specifically the requisition, like department budgets, individual budgets, plant locations, all kinds of things that you might want to use to define who can requisition what from who and for how much. And all this is dynamic, and you're going to see this happen. These routing rules take place dynamically, so if the information in the PO rec changes, the rules required to meet that change to fit the change. We have direct integration so that we have email alerts for both the approvers and the requisitioners. So an approver gets notified that they have to do something through email that they're already used to using, and the requisitioner gets feedback to know what is the state and status of the requisition they made. We can have both simultaneous and sequential and group approvals, including out-of-office designations, so substitutes can work in place. Unlimited retractions and resubmission of POs when additional information is needed or a PO is rejected for a specific reason. It can even be rerouted upon a change, so you can see that if another line item is added to the requisition that requires it to be routed to new or different individuals, that is all done dynamically. And the history of all PO requisition attempts is tracked, so you have full auditability of everything that's occurred with a requisition, so you can go back and understand where problems may have happened. And with that, we have full user and time and date stamp auditability on all of that, including if a out of office was done, we track who did it and who it was done in name of. But what purpose is there to that? What result are our customers getting? And this is from interviews with our customers. This is what they are telling us that this has managed to do for them. They've been able to standardize the requisition process globally across multiple divisions, multiple countries. It has dramatically reduced the process cycle time and therefore reduced cost. And I'll show you some statistics on that in a bit. It also allows this full visibility, so both the requisitioner and the approvers know exactly what is the status of a PO request. There is no redundant data entry, so everything is just added or entered once and it is carried across. So nobody has to go and duplicate, and we eliminate redundant data entry errors. Also, the auditing is much easier because all of the information is stored. We can go back and check prices and compare against contracts. You can check about who is, what is the average approval time in an approval step. All of that is available for your analytics. It also allows you to eliminate entirely all paper forms for these processes. No more shuffling around pieces of paper throughout the organization to be able to get something done. And you don't need a sneaker net and somebody jumping out of their chair to go get that critical signature. They can make it happen either instantly if it fits within a budget requirement, or with an email, or even telling somebody on a phone, go check your email. Next slide. So these are the highlights that I want you to be aware of when you're looking at the presentation today. Number one, it says real-time integration with the QAD application or the QAD applications that relate to purchasing. It's 100% web-based, so it's available anytime, anywhere where you have access to a browser and the internet. So mobile functionality is supported. You could access this from your phone, from a tablet, from a hotel business computer, from a customer site, or even, say, a field tech in the field trying to repair a piece of equipment could bring it up right and make a requisition right on his phone. We also have the auto creation of the QAD PO upon whenever the requisition is fully approved or meets the rules that relate to it. There's something else you're going to see. Now, e-commerce punch-out is something you typically only see on, say, Ariba or other very high-end MRO purchasing applications, and you're going to be rather blown away how we manage to get your suppliers to help make your job easier. And that would also be true for the supplier catalog management that really helps make your job easier, your ability to manage that process and to control it. And finally, you may not know about this, but there is a UN or a global standard called UNSPSC that is used to categorize virtually every product and service that you might want to be going out to buy. We incorporate that information, and we allow you to then go back against this and run analytics to see, are you buying the right things from the right places for the right prices? Can you combine buys? This gives you the information you need to go back and negotiate better contracts with your suppliers. Next slide. QAD, Enterprise Asset Management Solution. Some companies like using the QAD EAM for plant floor control of spare parts and maintenance, and because a tech still needs to requisition a part or a repair part, we have integrated it so that all of the benefits that iPurchase brings to the rest of the non-material purchasing chain, we also bring to EAM, including all the link-ins for the financials and the customer management and all the other pieces, including analytics. Are you buying the right parts from the right suppliers? Are your contract pricing being enforced? Do you get all of the benefits of spend management reporting that you need? Next slide. So as I said, now this is just one example from a Aberdeen Group report, the e-procurement benchmark, that shows the real effective cost savings and time savings that comes from this sort of e-procurement. So that a requisition to order cost drops from $51 to $26, and more impressively, the requisition to order cycle time is cut to almost a third. The big impact as well is because requisitioners are no longer using P cards or petty cash to make purchases. We're able to dramatically reduce the percentage of Maverick spend. And these are a little bit generic. We think that most of our customers are actually doing better than this. Next slide. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this back to Andy. And what I want you to do is to remember what I told you to look for and see what impact that is going to have on your ability to control your MRO spend. Thank you, Andy.
Terrific, Bruce. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to show some iPurchase software. Obviously, we can't demonstrate all of the functionality. We'd be here for a couple of hours, but I did want to show some of the highlights here. So we're going to start here on this screen. I'm going to explain this. We're right now in what's called the requisition workbench. Okay, and the requisition workbench has multiple tabs, has header information. So this is a purchase order requisition we're looking at. Here's the requisition number that was assigned. So I took the liberty of actually putting together a requisition in preparation for this demonstration, so I wouldn't have to key all this stuff in while you're all watching. But it has a bunch of tabs. It has the header information. Now, this header information, again, comes right out of QAD. So the supplier here is set up in QAD in the supplier master table. There's no supplier master table in iPurchase. So this is real-time validating and reading the QAD supplier master, as well as all of the other fields that you're looking at here: ship to, bill to, site, currency, coming out of the QAD generalized codes, things like this. Okay? Notes, master comments, again, for anybody familiar with QAD's master comments. And last but not least, the approval history. So this is all at the header level, and of course, we have stuff at the line item level. And I want to demonstrate the dynamic approval routing, right, using this requisition. So what I did is I set up two line items here. Okay, the items are called marketing fees and marketing costs. Okay, these are what would be called memo items in QAD. So you can have either items set up in QAD, and it would read the item master in QAD and bring in that information upon entering the item, and I can show you that in a minute. Or you can have non-inventory items, okay, or MRO items, or what QAD considers memo items. Okay? And that's what I set up. I just set up two items here: marketing fees and marketing costs, and they can be anything, of course: spare part 1, spare part 2, etc. So the descriptions are not relevant here. Now, what you see up here is approval simulation. So based on the data currently that you see in the line items as well as the header, so any data in the requisition can be used to determine an approval routing, any and all of the data, right? What you're going to see here is we have the concept of approval simulation. So this requisition is not currently submitted, but it has been submitted previously for approval, and then it was retracted. So up until the time a requisition is completely approved and a purchase order is created, it can be retracted by the requisitioner, changes can be made and resubmitted. What you'll notice as I scroll down here is there were multiple approval attempts. So here's approval attempt number 2. Okay, and so I've been playing with this, and it was retracted. That's what this shows. It was retracted by Robert Yunez, and that's who I'm signed in as, Robert Yunez. Okay, and it shows that and when I retracted it. Okay, and actually, if I continue to scroll down, it'll show me my approval attempt number 1. So I submitted this, retracted it, submitted it, and retracted it twice. We're now in the 3rd attempt. I have not yet submitted it for a 3rd time just yet. Okay? The first thing we're going to do, though, is I'm going to show you how the approval hierarchy or the list of approvers changes as I change the data in the requisition. So right now the requisition is 2 line items for $3,000. Okay? And based on the rules that are set up by the end user organization, so this is not hard-coded. Okay? iPurchase comes with a rules configurator where you create the rules. A rule can be any purchase order requisitions greater than $1,000, Robert needs to approve. That's a very, very simple rule. Or a rule can be any requisition greater than $1,000 being shipped UPS for site ABC, being charged to cost center 123, and/or, Frank needs to approve. So you can have very simple rules, you can have very complicated rules, you can have an unlimited number of rules. Upon submission of the requisition, the rules are checked, and the approval hierarchy is determined. What you see here is Robert Yunez was the requisitioner. He's actually authorized to approve requisitions up to $10,000. So there's a rule in there that says Robert Yunez can approve up to $10,000. If I submitted this requisition right now, what you'd see is this would automatically approve for Robert. All right, but I'm not going to do that just yet. I'm going to make some changes. So we're going to go into the line item. Okay, here's the first line item. It's for $1,000. I'm simply going to add a 0 to it. Right? And I'm going to save and close it. Okay? So I'm now at $12,000. And you'll notice Trey Benson was added to the approval list. Okay, so Robert was authorized up to $10,000. Okay? And because we're now over $10,000, Trey was added. Trey, as you can see, is authorized up to $25,000. So if I went in and I changed this, let's put this, make this $25,000. You'll notice that my total requisition now is $35,000, and you'll notice Vince was now added to my approval hierarchy. So you can see, and now we're still in what's called simulation mode. So if I submitted this for approval right now, these are the approvers that would need to approve this requisition. Okay? Robert, Trey, Vince. And you also see groups, a legal group and a finance group. So what that means is any member in this group can approve this requisition. It doesn't require all the members in the group. All the members in the group will be notified once it gets to their turn. So first it has to pass through Vince. Actually, it has to pass first through Robert, Trey, and Vince before it gets to the legal group. This goes in sequence here, right? Eventually, the legal group would be notified, and either myself or Frank would need to approve or reject this requisition. Once it passes the legal group, it then goes to the finance group. Same concept there. You have multiple members in the finance group. But you'll also notice Alex Chen is out of office. And Alex has assigned a designee, Bill Cox. Both Alex and Bill would be notified that a requisition is outstanding and requiring their approval. Again, any one of the members of the group would need to approve or reject the requisition. And finally, Craig Wolfus, who's set up as the buyer. Typically, our clients like the buyer to eyeball a requisition and approve it before it actually comes a purchase order. If it's been approved by everybody prior to Craig, and then Craig approves it, a purchase order will be created. Okay? So I'm not going to do that just yet. So far, all I've done is I've changed some of the pricing, which has changed the approval hierarchy. But I'm going to go into the header, and I'm going to actually change another field, ship via, from UPS to overnight. Okay, I'm going to save that. I'm going to go back into the approval history, and you'll notice two more people were added, Bill Harris and Ron Barrett. So there's a rule out there that was configured that says if the ship via is overnight, add Bill Harris and Ron Barrett to the approval hierarchy. And again, these are just examples, right? So it's any and all of the data that you're looking at here. Rules can be created on any and all of the data, both at the header and line item data. Okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going to submit it. Okay? So it's gone from not submitted to pending. We're going to look back at the approval history. You'll notice the approval attempt is now number 3. So I have 2. I have 1, so now I have 3 approval attempts. And you'll notice I have the ability to now retract. So I am logged in as Robert. And I can still retract this and make changes, resubmit it umpteen number of times. You'll also notice Alex Chen was added, right, with Bill Copps as, so there were more people added, okay? Now, the process would be that now each one of these people, and in sequence, will be notified, right, via email. If they will also be notified on their phone, okay, if they're using the mobile functionality. They can go into the requisition. They can review it and approve it or reject it. So let me show you an example here of an email. So here is an example of an email that gets created. So this is an email coming from iPurchase that gets created. This is not the email for the rec we're working on. So this is just an example of another rec that I was working on. And this is what the email looks like. It would send the email out to whoever requires approval. It actually has a picture of the requisition right in the email. So you don't need to click on an attachment. You don't need to do anything else. You don't even need to go back into iPurchase. Right from this email, you can approve or reject this requisition. If you want to go into the requisition for some reason, you can hit the View button, and that will take you into iPurchase directly into that requisition. So there are a number of ways that you can approve, review, and reject a requisition. And as you can see, this requisition and the printout of requisition shows you everything. Okay, here is our 2 line items. This is when it was still $1,000 and $2,000. And you notice the approval hierarchy is also shown. You'll notice that because it was under $10,000, only $3,000, Robert Ganesh was automatically approved because he is authorized up to $10,000. Okay, so that's an example of one of the emails, and I'll show you other examples in a minute, that are created as part of this process. Okay? But instead of logging out and logging in to each one of these people here, I'm going to do what's called an emergency approval. So there's some functionality that is provided here based on security. I can add approvers to this list. I can remove approvers to this list. And this functionality is, again, provided to approvers based on security privileges. So not everybody would get this. And there's also something called an emergency approval. So as an example, there's a piece of machinery down in the plant. A spare part needs to be purchased. We don't have time to wait until it gets through all of these approvers. Okay? So somebody needs to go in and hit the emergency approval, and it will automatically approve this requisition. Okay? And what you see here is a QAD purchase order was created. Right? You can take a look at it. Okay, so this is a QAD purchase order. What you notice here is that we have developed a relationship with a company called Minisoft, who sells a forms package within the QAD community. And so this is a pretty looking purchase order. Just to give you an example, this is the standard stock purchase order that comes out of QAD. Okay, so some of you may recognize that. And so this is a formatted purchase order within a Minisoft form. Okay. Okay. The next thing I'd like to show you, so that was a little bit about approval history, okay, and how the hierarchy works, approval routing. The next thing I want to show you is the punch-outs. So there are a number of ways to create a purchase order requisition. One of them is the old-fashioned way, just type in the header information, type in the line item information. That's how I created the requisition we were just working with. Another way is through what's called a supplier punch-out. These are just some of the suppliers that our clients have worked with. You probably recognize these names. I'm sure some of you are using these suppliers. And what we're going to do is we're going to use CDW here for demonstration purposes. So I hit the link. And what it's going to do, it's going to take me to the CDW website. So I am on the CDW website as if I would just went there through my browser or Google, but it knows where I came from. And I'm actually logged in here as one of our clients, John Crane. So there's a handshake that goes on behind the scenes. And the reason for that is CDW is now going to provide me what's called contract pricing instead of retail pricing if I was just a shopper that came into their website through the internet, right? So let's buy something or let's requisition something. So that's what we're doing. We're not actually buying. We're actually using their website to requisition. Okay? And there are a number of advantages. One of them is the contract pricing. Okay? So I'm going to buy that. I'm going to buy a warranty or requisition it. I'm going to add it to the cart. Okay? So you notice these two items were added to the cart. And John Crane is actually owned by the Smiths Group. So this is the parent company of John Crane. And you notice so I hit this drop down here, I'm being given what's called contract pricing versus list or retail pricing. Okay? At this point, I can check out. Wherever the checkout button is, here it is. Okay? Now, instead of asking me for a credit card, which is typically what happens when you go to a shopping cart on the internet and you buy something, Amazon.com or 1-800-Flowers or whatever, CDW knows that we're only using their website for requisitioning. We're not actually buying something. Okay? And that's what's called a punch-out. The punch-outs are becoming very standard, okay? Just like EDI. And so I'm going to hit the transfer shopping cart button. And what it's going to do is it's going to transfer the data back into iPurchase. So I'm back in the requisition workbench. And it set up the 2 line items for me. Okay? So there's a whole lot of advantages in using punch-outs. One, I'm getting accurate pricing. I'm getting accurate descriptions. I'm also getting the UNSPSC code sent back to me. That stands for the United Nations Special Product and Services Code. That's an 8-position smart code that I can use now for performing spend analytics. And we'll talk about a little bit about that in a little while. Okay? If I went into my approval history, you see here that right now, based on the data that's in this requisition, here are my approvers. Right? I can submit this if I wanted to and walk through the same process I showed you a minute ago when we were doing the marketing fees. Same process. So that is another way, another method to create purchase order requisitions. It's called supplier punch-outs. And it's becoming very standard in the industry. For suppliers that don't offer punch-out capability, okay, you're working potentially with smaller suppliers, we offer catalog capability. Okay, so punch-outs are when we go actually to the supplier's website. Catalogs are when you get the supplier to send you an electronic catalog. They don't offer punch-out capability necessarily, so you get them to send you an electronic catalog, typically in Excel format, and we import that catalog into iPurchase. And then you can shop against those catalogs in a very e-commerce-like fashion. So let's take a look at how that works. I can do a search based on keywords. So let me type in the word pens, apply the filter. And what it did is it went through the catalogs that we have set up, and I believe we only have 2 catalogs set up right now, one from HP and one from Independence Business Supply. So you see here it's showing Independence Business Supply here. Okay? And it's finding this keyword, pens, within anywhere within the description, okay, or any of the data that is provided to us in the catalog. You'll also notice the UNSPSC code. Right? This is the 8-position code. Each 2 positions of this code has meaning. So it's a smart code. Right? And this is delivered with the catalog from the supplier. So the supplier does all this work for you. There's nothing that you need to do. So whether you use punch-outs to create PR requisitions or you use imported catalogs, the UNSPSC code is delivered to you by the supplier. Right? I can now order. Right? So I can just add things to my cart. Okay, one item added to my cart. I can check out, and it would create a requisition for me. But let's clear the filter. And that's one way we can search. We can also set up what's called favorites. Okay, so favorites are things that you may buy all the time, unlimited number, basically a template. So you can set up templates, or we call them favorites, of items that you buy on a recurring basis. You can share templates with other users, things like this. So that's what favorites are all about. And then there's other ways to search through the catalog. So I can certainly just choose a supplier. Now, before I do that, let me explain the next 4 fields, and then you'll see how this ties together. Segment, family, class, and commodity are each 2 positions of the UNSPSC code. So segment is the first 2 positions of that 8-position code, family is the next, class is the next, and commodity is the last 2 positions. When you import a catalog that's sent to you from the supplier, iPurchase automatically indexes that catalog for you for searching capability using this hierarchy. So you see segment. These are all the different first 2 positions that the suppliers may sell. So the items are categorized in 2 segments, okay, such as cleaning supplies. So you see Ajax, et cetera, okay. I can now drill down further. Okay, so within cleaning equipment supplies, I want to look for janitorial supplies, and as I continue to drill down, my search is getting narrower and narrower. All right. So now I'm dust mop. So I'm basically using the hierarchy to search through, okay, what I'm looking for through the catalog. Then eventually I get down here, okay, and I can order. No limit to the number of catalogs that you could have imported into the system. All right. Let me clear the filter again. So you'll notice this list is going to change if I choose and I start with a supplier. You'll notice the list got shorter. So HP only offers these categories. All right. If I chose independent business supply, you notice the list changed. So based on the supplier, the UNSPSC hierarchy changes. Okay? So that is another way to create purchase order requisitions. The manual way, the first way, punch outs, and then catalogs. Okay? The next thing I want to just touch on real quick is budgeting. Okay, so we have full budgeting, project budgeting in iPurchase. All right, so let me just bring up some data here. So basically what you're looking at here is you can set up a budget, right, $20,000, and you can allocate that budget across multiple cost centers. Right? So we allocated 5,000 of the 20,000 to cost center 900, 5,000 to cost center 2,000, and the balance has not been allocated, so any cost center or any department can use that. Right? So this is a project budget, and as purchase order requisitions are entered into the system, we track the PO recs against the budget as it flows into purchase orders and then receipts, okay, all the way down to the ending balance. iPurchase can be set up to warn the user that the requisition is approaching a budget. It can even be set up and configured to stop a requisition from being entered and submitted if that requisition is going to exceed a project budget. So full project budgeting within iPurchase. Okay. Let's go back for a second here, and let's take a look at this requisition. So this one is not submitted. And let's take a look at one of the line items here. So this is the one we put in as a punch-out. And let me just show you that here is where you put in the accounting information on the line item level. Okay? So site, my cost center or department. So this is fully integrated with QAD's financials. Okay? This data comes right, again, out of QAD's chart of accounts. Okay? So I can charge it to multiple departments, multiple accounts, multiple sub-accounts, projects. Okay? So at the line item level, so I can have one purchase order requisition charged to multiple cost centers, multiple GL accounts out of one PO rec. Okay? Let's go back now to the rec inquiry. This is where we're going to end the demo here. So this is what we call requisition inquiry. Okay, right now this is showing me requisitions that were originated by Robert Y. That's who I am logged in as. But I'm going to remove the filter. And this is a fairly powerful inquiry program. So I can use any of these fields at the top here to filter the requisitions I'm looking for. So that is a big difference between the QAD requisition system and iPurchase, is that when a requisition is turned into a purchase order, the requisition stays. So we keep a history of all requisitions so you can do spend analytics. So once you find the requisitions you're looking for, you have some options. You can export them to Excel. You can certainly look at the details. Okay, so I can click on this button here, and it shows me the line items right here. Right. I can print it to show me a printout. Right. I can click on the link. That will take me back into the requisition. I can look at the header and the master comments, the approval hierarchy, and all the good things, each one of the line items, etc. Okay. So this is a very powerful tool to find requisitions. Again, I want to remove the filter. Once you find what you're looking for, looks like my system didn't like that. I'm going to have to re-log in real quick. Okay, let's go back into Rec Inquiry. Okay. I can export to Excel, and I can graph. So again, I want to remove the filter, and I can do graphing as well. Okay, so I have options to me here. I can graph based on a number of different things. So I'm graphing the requisitions that I found through the inquiry is what I'm doing. You see a graph here. You also see a legend. Okay. And here is the UNSPSC. So I can graph based on the UNSPSC code. Okay, so that segment is the first two positions of the UNSPSC code. So we have clients that are using this to determine if they're spending too much money. And how are they doing that? Well, you're going to see in a minute. I can start at the top level, and I see, oh, okay, material handling. I'm spending a whole lot of money. Okay, $4.6 million in material handling. So let's drill down further. By clicking on that bar, you'll notice the 24, the first two positions of the UNSP, so it stays the same, but now I'm at the next level. I'm at the family level. You'll notice that changes. So, okay, within material handling, it looks like I'm spending a lot of money on containers and storage. Family 11. So let's click further. It says, okay, well, within 11, you'll notice the first four positions are now the same, but it looks like I'm spending all my money on bags. Okay, 3.8 million out of the total on bags. And I can continue drilling, right? And now you notice the first six positions are the same, with the last position, two positions saying, oh, paper bags and plastic bags. So that's how I'm spending my money on bags. And if I continue, it shows me I'm actually buying those bags from 3 different suppliers. And so many of our clients, what they do is they consolidate their spend to one supplier in order to negotiate better pricing. So obviously, if you're buying the same thing, we have a client that actually buys the same thing from up to 14 different suppliers. And this is a client that has almost 600 users of iPurchase, so a fairly sizable organization, okay, up in Michigan. Right? And clearly, they need to consolidate their spend to far fewer suppliers in order to get better pricing. Right? So that, again, is just a little bit of an example of some of the analytics, some of the graphing we can do. Okay? And then last but not least, metrics. So we're keeping track of not only spend analytics, but also process analytics. So what you see here is the actual process of PO requisition to purchase order cycle time, as an example. So what it's showing here is Frank has approved 694 requisitions, rejected 24, and it takes him almost 10 hours on the average to either approve or reject a requisition. So that's what this is all about. So you can actually see who is holding up the process, right? You'll see here Supervisor 1, right? Averages about 80 hours to get a requisition through the approval or rejection process. So that clearly Supervisor 1 is taking quite a long time and holding up the show. Right? So these process metrics allow you to fine-tune your processes in order to achieve the results that Bruce spoke about, such as reducing process cycle time. Okay? So I think that's just about all we're going to cover today from a demonstration perspective. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to enter them into the question and answer box. Okay. Again, let me just put on the screen here the contact information. Okay. If you want to send any questions. I'm not sure how to open up the GoToMeeting to allow people to ask questions. Mike, are you on the phone? Do you know how to do that?
Yeah, let me see if I can. Hold on. I opened it up. Debbie's the only one that's still on the line, and that she can speak now if she wants to ask any questions.
Okay. Okay, so that concludes our demonstration for today. Again, feel free to send us any questions that anybody may have. We do appreciate you taking the time to participate in today's webinar. Thank you so much, and please enjoy the rest of your day.